Oh great, I'm gonna have to pretend to have energy. Welcome back to Knowledge is Kings, guys. I am Kings, and today I am super excited for this video. We are gonna be unboxing this. You wanna see one side? Let's take a look. Nothing! I already unboxed it. And the reason I unboxed it already is because I was watching how I watched unboxings, and I realized, you know what, I skip most of the unboxing just because I want to see what's inside it. I don't need a long conversation about what everything is while they're unboxing it, especially if this is the first time they've ever seen it. So I'm going to roll the footage now of me unboxing this while I talk about a few things. So as you can see, this is a 3D printer, and it's a Flashforge Finder. Now I have never done any 3D printing, which is why I'm really excited about this, and I haven't never even really been interested in 3D printing. But the reason I'm trying to get into it now is because I always have these little ideas of things I want to invent or create, and it's kind of expensive to have someone design it for you or put a model together. So I got this 3D printer in the hopes that I can just do it myself. The main things that come with this printer are the spool of filament, they call it, and this is PLA plastic, which stands for polylactic acid. It's a renewable type of plastic, and I believe it actually breaks down when it's exposed to the elements. So this is something that if you get a spool of the PLA plastic, is something that you either want to use up pretty quickly or store it in an airtight container and maybe vacuum seal it. All right, so now that I got it unboxed, I'm just gonna go quickly through all the different parts of the printer. So obviously I have the printer itself. Here's the plate that actually moves up and down. So as it goes, this turns and moves this up and down. Meanwhile, the head has a little nozzle that heats up, and this one heats up to 210 degrees, and it starts pumping out this little plastic here. And this one, this just moves side to side and front to back, while this one moves up and down. All right, and as we spin the printer around, so here's the side, nothing really there other than just the main supports and another view into the printing station. Up on the back here, we have power in, and then here's the on-off switch for the main power. Now the screen and printer itself has another power switch here. So that one in the back does the main, cuts power to everything. This just puts it basically on standby. On the back here, now inside this tube is the PLA plastic, and once it's in here, I haven't had to remove it yet, but there you have to go through a process that has to heat up, and then you have to back the plastic out, which I'm not going to do now. So I'm going to leave it in there, but lift this out, and you can see right there is the spool of plastic. Now I'm not sure how much exactly is on there, but I've printed quite a few things and there still seems to be a lot left. So that's just a quick run around of the printer. What also came with it, they gave you a little stick of glue, and it's purple when you put it onto the bed, but after it dries it turns clear and it's ready to start printing. So you need to put it on here, just swipe a bunch back and forth so that your print actually sticks to this, because after a while it doesn't become sticky, and I'll show you what happened when I had a print fail, but your print can come loose and then it can shift all around and nothing will turn out right. They also send a bunch of little tools for you, and then some grease for all the metal parts that move. Another thing they send is one of these geek sticks. Now it said it was supposed to come with one, and mine actually came with two, and they're 16 gigabyte geek sticks, so that's pretty nice. And actually I've been using it. I have a file loaded on one that you plug into the side of the printer here, and that's where you can get your file from the computer to the printer, and then it'll print. And then while that's in there, I can be working on and loading up another file to this one, so it's nice to have two. If you don't want to use these, you can also connect this blue cable right from the printer to your computer, which is nice. I haven't done that. I've just been using the geek stick, which seemed to work out really well, but you can do it either way. It also has Wi-Fi, and I'll turn this on. So it has a nice little jingle to it when it turns on. All right, and once it's loaded up, we have some options here. So build, that gets us right into where we want to pull our file from. Now I've always been using the geek stick right there. So, and then you can see different files. So this, all this other stuff that has folders were things that are preloaded onto this for you. With this, they actually give you the slicing software that you need. So I've been designing things in Tinkercad, and I'll get into that later. And then after you design something, it needs to go into a slicing program to put it into all the little layers that the printer needs. So that is actually all on here. And then there's also some of my projects that I've been doing. They're on here in little picture formats. So all you do, you would just click one, and then all you do is click build. And it shows right here, it shows how long it's going to take to build it. This one's 4 hours. Now let's see. I don't have my longest one on here. I had one that was ended up being 26 hours to build. But anyway, so that's all you got to do is click your thing, click your project, and then click build, and then it's ready to go. 3 hours later, you come back, and she's done. For that particular one, they all take different times depending on how long it is. Preheat, I haven't used that option, but I think that's if you want to have it ready for you as soon as you want to print something. It only takes like less than a minute to preheat, so I'm not sure why you would necessarily need to do that. This printer can only do PLA. It can't do any other type of plastics like ABS or anything like that. It's limited to PLA. It only has the one temperature. It does not have a heated bed, which is what you need for ABS, I believe. And then it also has a menu where you have a leveling process that seemed kind of fairly inaccurate to me. I actually had to do it a couple times. It basically involves turning these screws here and here, of which there are 3, 2 in the back, or 2 in the front and 1 in the back there. And you basically, a little sensor pops out of here. I think it's right there. It pops down and it moves up and down, and you have to just set it until it gives audible sound. And it's telling me it was good, and then when I said all right, test, it wasn't good, so I had to do it a few times. I wasn't real crazy about the leveling process, but it actually seemed to work out once it was all done. Other things here, other options here, it says home. That just moves this to its home position. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe when you pause a print, you need to check something, but I believe the last time I paused a print in the middle of the print to do something, this came all the way down, and then this went to its home position already. So I'm not sure what the home button really is for. I mean, I know what it does. Filament, that just is when you want to load or unload a filament. Settings, a whole bunch of things, Wi-Fi, and nothing too great there. Status, it just tells you where in the XYZ everything is. Nothing great about that. About, there it is. That's about it, I guess. Usage counter, so I've had it running for 43 hours so far worth of prints. That's kind of useful to know. So that's basically it for the screen. I want to start showing some of the projects that I've built so far. All right, so this was the first thing I printed, and the only reason I printed this is just a little square with a hollow cylinder. Now the only reason I printed that was because this one actually comes preloaded onto the Geek Stick that they give you as a test print. So this is your first thing that you can print just without having to bring anything in from the computer. Now the second thing I printed was this. Just a blob of mess. Okay, and this is exactly what happens if your project doesn't stick down appropriately. So this was printed like this. It started going around, but then this shifted, boom, and now it started printing here, and it can't tell that it's not printing on anything. It just thinks that, yep, lay it down wherever it is and keep going. And this is what you have. Now, I had set this printer to go. I think this project was a 4-hour project that it was supposed to print, and I set it to go, watched it do like the first ring and said, okay, it's good to go. Then I left my house. And the only reason I saw it before it had gone the whole full hours, I checked in on my phone on my home security system and saw that it was doing terrible. So I rushed all the way home and clicked stop and to see what was going on. So sure enough, I had to cancel that print. And this is what I was trying to print, okay? So this is as far as it got, this ring on the top. Now, what happened was I printed it like this, upside down like this, and I thought, you know what? This would be the best way to print because it has the largest surface area all the way around, a big circle. Whereas if I printed it like this, it has a really small area, and I didn't want it to bump it or something and chip it loose and then it fall over. Okay, the problem with this cup, now I did not design this cup. I found this cup on Thingiverse. It has a rounded, or it was supposed to have a very rounded edge, meaning that the very tip of it was the only thing that was on the print bed. So it didn't have a whole lot of surface area to stick there, and as you can see, I actually had to glue down the base. I stopped it midway. You can click pause and it will lower everything down, and I hot glued the base back down because otherwise on the second run this one would have done the same thing. Now this is a very special cup, and I'll show you what it does in a little bit. But first, if you look on the inside there, if it can focus, you can see at the very bottom something happened with the layers. They separated. And that could be because this was printed upside down. That part in turn was basically horizontal, going like this, so it was trying to print over air. There was nothing to print to. Now if I had printed it upright like this, then it could have printed on the layers below. And it only happened right there as it started to transition to a level spot. So I think it actually would have been safe if I had printed that right side up. Like I said, brand new to printing, so I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'm kind of learning as I go. And you can see the detail on this. It's supposed to be perfectly circle. It's actually pretty good. So this isn't supposed to be something that prints extremely usable products. This is something more for making prototypes and things like that, getting a model down. The next thing I printed was this cube. Nothing fancy about this cube whatsoever. One of my kids was just like, hey, can you print a cube? So I did. This is also the second thing that is loaded onto the disc or the Geek Stick when you get the printer. The next thing I printed was this. It's like a plastic cloth. Now you can print, it basically comes in two shapes, this one and this one. And what you do is in your program it'll look like this, and you just duplicate them a whole bunch of times. You can duplicate it as big as you want, so you could have 100 of these little things, and it actually prints them locked together like this. And it is amazing because this is just a free-flowing plastic cloth basically, and you know, you could make a giant blanket out of it just with the 3D printer, and I don't have to snap any of these together. It just prints them together. Okay, so that is pretty amazing that a 3D printer can do that. The next thing I printed here is this. This is a Geneva Drive, and it actually printed this in separate pieces. Well, I can't get that handle out there, but it actually comes in this side, this gear, and that gear there, and then the handle. Then together, it makes this Geneva Drive. Now, this is what the old like 8mm projectors used to use. Basically what would happen as the motor would spin, it would move the film one film forward, stop moving for a split second, and then move it again. Now you have to imagine this spinning really fast, and you can't even tell that it's moving. And that's what makes that iconic clickety-clack noise that you hear when old projector films are reeling. This thing just spins, and the Geneva Drive drives it. So it goes like this. You can see it stops for a second, but just imagine going really fast. Now all these parts were printed on the 3D drive. So there's the handle there. Here is the other parts. So I just printed them all on the plate, just like that. And this is a piece that I had to break off of it. So whenever you have an edge like this, that pretend this is the bottom of the plate, this overhang here would have nothing to attach to. The printer would be printing to air. It prints this little thing to catch it, and it only hits the print on the very tips. So this is really easy to break off. I just took it out and just snapped it off, and there it goes. Now that does cause this to be a little rough on that side. You can see there, it's not smooth like the rest of it. This one is rather rough. Now you can notice it's kind of wet, and the only reason is that the tolerances were so tight on this that it was sticking everywhere when I tried to spin it. So I actually sprayed some lubricant on there just so it would spin all right. Very cool. So you can even print moving parts, which makes this really nice. The next thing I printed is called a maker coin. Now I should say that that Geneva Drive that I just got there, that was actually designed by Maker Muse. He has a channel on YouTube, and he actually designed that, and I got it from him on Thingiverse. And he designed something called a maker coin, and he thought, hey, it'd be cool if other 3D guys, other people who do 3D printing, would make their own little coins that they could use to test out filament, and they could give to other 3D printer people that they meet. And so I made my own of that. Now I designed this on Tinkercad, and it just has KIK, Knowledge is Kings. And there's not much to it, but I would say that the bottom of this really got rough. And that seems to happen whenever, so I printed it like this, that rough side down, and it printed something like this to hold up that base. And when I broke it away, it was really rough. Now, I'm not sure what I can do about that. I will try a couple different things, maybe try printing it vertically like this to see if that can help out. But just a little cool little coin, doesn't really do anything, but it's got it's concave there on top and the bottom, and then it just has KIK running through it. And I might have to scale this up a little bit. The eye didn't quite work out as sharply as the K's did, and that, which is kind of surprising, as the K's have more detail to them than the eyes do. But still, that's it there, the maker coin. My son actually designed this on Tinkercad, so he's just trying to learn how to use it. I don't know much more than he does on it, so I'm very brand new to this, like I said before. But he did this, so anybody's able to do something. If you're worried about, oh, I can't do a 3D printer, I can't design things in 3D, just take your time and you can learn it. If I can learn how to use a 3D program, anybody can do it. All right, so he designed this on Tinkercad, and it printed off really well with a couple exceptions. Here, you can see there's like a burn mark there, and I'm not sure how that happened, if the nozzle sat in one spot too long. Other than that, the corners all look good, except for this one, and I'm not sure how that happened. If it cooled down and bent up like that, it's very strange, because how could the top end up so smooth here when the bottom curled up? I mean, if this part had curled up, this part should be the same thickness as that. And just a really strange anomaly. I haven't had that happen other than that one time. So, cool little box there. The last thing I printed is this, and this is another thing I got off Thingiverse. I did not design this one. And this all printed as one piece. So the printer printed this as one whole piece, and then I took it off, and you can just twist it. So there are many things you can do with the printer. I mean, this is just amazing to me that you can make this, what was called an iris, all in one go. So it's not like it printed a piece and it printed the base and then it printed these individual pieces and then I put it together. It was printed as one solid piece, and there's actually no way to get this apart without breaking it. So it is really just an amazing piece of equipment. I mean, the accuracy that's needed for this printer to print all these layers, and you can see all the layers of the little pieces. It printed it open like this. So this is how it printed. Then you pop it off, and then you can twist it. Just amazing what a 3D printer can do. All right, so I promised I'd show you what this cup does. And I'm just going to use this under the cup. So this is called the Pythagorean Cup, or the greedy cup. So how it works is, if you pour liquid into the cup, you can use it like a normal cup. You can still drink from it, and it works like normal. If you fill the cup up too high, let's say you get greedy, what happens is the cup will drain out the entire contents. And not just the little bit extra that you dumped in, but the entire cup. And the cup is empty. And how this works is this. So when you fill the cup up, there is a line that comes from this hole and goes to the inside of the cup. And it goes up to this level, and then it spins around the cup, and then comes down in through the center. So while you fill the cup up on the inside, this outer ring, this line going up, fills up at the same level of the water. As soon as that level gets above the ring that runs all the way around, that ring fills up with water and then drains down through the bottom. And as it drains, it siphons all of this water. So it can actually suck the water below up through that ring and all the way down and out. Pretty darn amazing. Now this was made by Pythagoras, I think his name is, the one that made Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So this is a cup that he made, and I don't know if it was just because he liked to pull pranks on people, but that is a pretty amazing idea. Now I found this on Thingiverse, and it was actually pretty small. I scaled it up quite a bit. I'm not sure what factor, I just kind of eyeballed it in the slicing program that came with this. It works really well, but you could make this a lot bigger so you could put more fluid in there, because if someone, if they only filled it up like a little tiny weight or something, well, that's certainly not enough. But I guess if your intent is to get them to wet themselves with this, you want them to put as much as you can in there. But again, pretty amazing. Just a little bit of water and it doesn't do anything. Fill it up past that top ring and it drains the entire contents. Really just a remarkable cup. And not only that, it is remarkable that this 3D printer can accurately print that. Print the hollow channel that runs inside here in the perfect way. Print it watertight. I mean, it's just, the printer is just an amazing thing. Now, granted, this is a fairly inexpensive printer, so it does make mistakes. It does have flaws, and some of them were user error, like printing this upside down. When I got it on Thingiverse, it was printed like, it was set like this, so I kind of just decided myself to tip it upside down, and I think if I printed it again, I would print it right side up. Now knowing that, I don't think it would tip it over, because the machine works very well and it would not bump that little, any little area of this and knock it over. But just the accuracy at which this machine can print. I mean, how tight these tolerances, now I got this filled with water, I can't turn it over, but how tight these tolerances have to be for these to fit inside this outer ring and the inner ring with virtually no play in them. It is just amazing. I'm blown away by this 3D printing experience. I've never done it before, but it is just so fun to print things. Now, I'd like to say it's fun to watch it print, but as this one took 26 hours to print, it's not like something you just stand there and for hours, because your mind goes numb. But if you time-lapse it, it's really cool to rewatch the time-lapse. Now, the only ones I time-lapsed, as you saw, was this first cup that I printed, and then the Pythagorean Cup. Those are the only things I've time-lapsed so far. But it's so cool, and then you can just, your imagination runs wild. Once you get one of these, you're constantly thinking all day, oh, what can I design? What would be really cool to 3D print and test out? What kind of gears can I create? What kind of screws can I, what kind of containers, what kind of, fill in the blank. It's just endless, and it's so exciting to me, and maybe overly exciting. I've just never seen, or I should say done anything like this. I've seen little snippets here and there of people doing it, but I've never really gotten into it. But all these times I come up with these ideas of things I want to create, I don't really have a means of creating them. Well, now I do. I don't have any excuse to not start designing a 3D and putting something together and having the printer print on it. This is something that is just amazing. Well, I think I've gone on this rant for long enough. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Also, don't forget to subscribe. So, 2 parts there. Like and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, hit the like button anyway. Come on, don't be that way. But I will say, my next video, I am planning on going through simple designs on Tinkercad. So if you're thinking you want to do this and you say, well, Kings, I really want to get into this, but that Tinkercad, I just 3D, man, it's 3D. Well, I'm going to show you how you can get started so it doesn't seem so overwhelming. I have never used Tinkercad before, and I was able to design this maker coin. You know, it's not incredibly detailed, but it took a little bit of doing, and this is just a start. So I'm going to learn as I go how to do it and create more and more complex things, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So stay tuned, and we will see you in the next video. Hey, do you like that?
Oh, I like that.